Zero Foxtrot does not profess to share or promote the opinions and beliefs expressed by show host or guests. The Stay Zero podcast was created to provide a platform for servicemen and women to share their stories. Due to the nature of this podcast, sensitive topics will arise. Conversations about combat, PTSD, drug use, and other such subjects will occur. Viewer discretion is advised.
Well, do you have any questions or anything for me before we get started?
How did this start? How did the
podcast start?
The podcast, yeah.
Well,
what you guys do?
The producer, Brianna, it's been a project of hers, as I understand it, for quite a while, and she pitched it, and then until she got approval, and I had been doing another podcast for a while. And we had linked up from helping some of their photo shoots. I was working with a buddy. We had a firearms training company here in Austin.
Okay.
And they needed some range safety officers to just kind of be present for them to do a photo shoot with live weapons.
Right.
And got to meet her through that. And when she finally got the go to launch this, she reached out and asked me to host it.
Nice.
And that was kind of it.
Yeah. How did she touch base with you? I mean, what was there some kind of previous knowledge or relationship that she knew about you could draw you into?
When they first started doing the photo shoots, she looked around for who was in Austin that could be range safety officers, and that was how we met.
Just went from there.
And then I did Naked and Afraid.
Okay.
And that kind of, I think, sparked a little bit of, online attention.
You're one of those.
and after that, I started podcasting just on my own. And then for another job that I was working, I launched a podcast for their business. And I think she just didn't have any other options, so she asked me.
Well, I guess it worked out. So
it's been great. I'm really grateful, and I've enjoyed it immensely. And it's honestly, it's become a part of my life that I get to. I mean, when else do you sit down with a stranger and get a chance to get to know them and talk with them?
That has a connection. You've got a connection somehow. It's kind of I understand. I can see that for sure.
Yeah, even if I had to stop here, I would just find another place or another way to keep doing it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it.
Well, and I guess that connection to veterans and shared experiences is why I'm so involved with the American Legion, where I've been a member for almost 20 years now. I started in 2005, I think is when I first hooked up with that after several deployments overseas and things like that. And I've just stayed with it. And we moved to Colorado, and the guys that, the post that I hooked up with, liked how I handled things when we first started working with them and stuff like that, and asked me to be commander, and I can't get out of it now.
Well, let me roll into the introduction since we've kind of already started.
Yep.
For everyone listening, this is Don Harper, and you served 34 years.
34 years, 3 months, and 13 days, but who's counting, right?
Yeah, right. Thank you for coming in, Don.
I appreciate it. Thanks for the invite. It just is totally out of the blue, but it's an experience I don't think I'd want to pass up.
Well, I'm glad you came in.
Yeah.
I mean, we can just keep on going from where we were. You mentioned you've been working with the American Legion.
Yeah, and I don't know if a lot of people don't know our mission. We've been around since 1919, actually started World War I veterans.
Oh, wow.
Sat around a beer table, wine table, whatever, in Paris, France, and started it.
Really?
Back then. It's purely a service support organization. It's very large now. We have national and what we call department offices in each state. National, there's departments in, I think it's Indianapolis is where the main headquarters is. The people there petition Congress for additional benefits, better benefits for veterans, things like that. It's a big organization. We have kind of moved into the background now since the Gulf Wars with Wounded Warriors, Tunnel to Towers, things like that. It's hard for us we've run into difficulty getting new younger members because, like I said, because the new organizations that are around, they see the TV ads and stuff like that. We don't do TV advertisements and stuff. Mostly it's word of mouth. We've been around so long, you'd think people know. Another thing is they think American Legion, a bunch of old guys sitting around the bar drinking. That's all they think about us doing. They don't see us out in the community helping the vet on the sidewalk that's looking for a job. We have them come in looking for a tank of gas to get to the job so they can continue to work, a rent payment to get them to the end of the month till their first paycheck comes in, things like that.
So y'all do a lot more direct support of each veteran than just being like a hub to hang out.
No, we're face to face. They come into our office needing help. We do some verification. We need to see a DD-214, a bank account statement that shows that they need the money, a rent statement if they need rent paid, things like that. And then we proceed from there. We try to keep it spread out. We're not you come in every month, we'll pay your rent every month for the next 6 months because there are other veterans out there that need help. And we're self-funded. Well, like I say, we have to raise our own funds to be able to support those guys that come into the office on the occasion that they need help. So we have to pinch pennies when we have. So we try to spread our help to those veterans around as many veterans as we can and not dump it all into one basket is what we do.
How difficult is that selection process to make? I mean, it's hard to say no to people.
It is hard to say no. Usually if they've been in a year ago, we can usually help them out again. But we can't, like I said, we can't become a bank account because they're not, we try to help them help themselves. If that's the word, that's the phrase. Try to get them on their feet, keep them going, so that they can help themselves, so that they don't need that help next month or the month after that.
What have you seen is the most common issue that they're having? Is it financial? Is it emotional?
Some emotional, some financial. We direct them to. We've got a pretty good vet support center, at least the VA medical center, fairly new, over in Fort Collins area, which is across west from where I live, where our post is in Greeley. A good medical facility over there. I go over there periodically myself. We try to find them. There are VA offices in town, in the town of Greeley. If it's an issue that we can't help, we send them to them for some more direct support. We can help them fill out paperwork. We've got guys. We've got clear back to, well, Korean vets. We have Korean vets in our organization. Most of us are Vietnam vets. I think the Korean vet, Rudy, he's 91, 92, something like that.
Wow.
And he still got some plays golf with us.
Nice.
He's a very spry 92.
Wow. What have y'all done to try to bring in the younger group?
We like I say, we have our golf tournament. We sponsor once a year. We have a local grocery store that we set up tables out front at least once a month. We sell hats, different types of hats. We have hats for all different service branches of service. We have hats for different conflicts, clear back to World War II, if a World War II vet happens to be able to show up. We raise money that way. We talk to those people. They know who we are. We have a huge banner out there for us. We talk to them. We try to get them to come to a meeting. We have meetings once a month.
What do y'all do at the meetings?
Well, we try to keep them up to date with current legislation, things like that, where they can get help if they need it. Most of what we get is our every meeting attendance has been minimal and limited since COVID. COVID really threw a wrench into a lot of things. We used to have quite a good representation in the meetings. COVID shut us down just like it shut everybody else down.
Yeah.
So that's diminished. We try to put out a newsletter at least every other month, let them know what we're doing, what events we might have coming along. Try to keep them involved with our efforts if we can. We just trying to be a face, have a face out in the community occasionally. Try to keep them coming in. Like I say, younger guys, it's a little tough. They've still got families. They've still got jobs. The other organizations, like I said, the newer organizations have come in, Tunnel to Towers, Wounded Warriors, things like that. That's more. You see them on TV more. They have the advertised spots and stuff like. You don't see an American Legion advertisement spots. You don't like.
Have you thought about doing that?
Well, like I said, we're self-funded. We don't. It'd be tough for us now. It would be nice if National would do something like that. National, the big headquarters guys, and I'm sure they got some money. I'm sure they got the money up there. So it is what it is. We do the best we can.
Balance spending on marketing versus spending on the actual veteran.
Yeah, and we spend. Marketing is expensive. We do pay for some radio spots to keep our name out there. On a periodic basis, but that's costly. That's costly, like I said. And when our mission is to help a vet who's down on his luck, whatever, we try to put our money there.
Yeah. What is do y'all have a location? Y'all have a
right now. We have an office that we rent out. We had a building. It was an old church that they had bought years before I moved to Colorado. That got too expensive to maintain, so we sold it. We've been in the market we bought some land out east of us. We thought we would build our own facility. We started getting bids that were just $1.5 million, $950,000. It was the cost was just, and
do you think they just assumed that y'all had a big purse? And
I'm assuming, because we're a national organization most of the time.
It's like saying wedding.
Yeah.
Like, whoa.
Yeah. And we have that reputation. We're a bunch of old guys sitting around the bar drinking all the time. That's all it is. And we got some pushback from a local HOA. They didn't want us in the neighborhood. They thought we were going to have a bunch of drunk guys out driving up and down the street, running over their kids. It was painful. And they had parents that were in the military that they didn't understand what we were trying to do. And said, yeah, we're going to have a bar. Quite honestly, bars is where your revenue comes from. We can have dinners, we can serve meals, but bars are where your money comes in. I said, we control who comes in. We control how they act and all that good stuff. We are not stupid. We're not going to cut our nose off to spite our face for a situation like that. And but the cost to put a new building in just was way out of our reach because, like I said, we're self-funded. We don't draw in a lot of money a month. So we finally, in fact, next Monday, I go sign papers to sell that piece of land. We sold it to a commercial interest. They finally come in and bought it. We took a little hit on it.
Yeah.
So now we're back to looking for a building we can renovate. Once again, we want to be able to have meals, things like that. We wouldn't have a reservation to renting it out to another organization for parties or wedding receptions or things like that. But we've got to have some place to start. We have one of our members works with commercial real estate, so he's keeping an eye on commercial properties in and around town right now. But even for them, he's having a hard time finding places that aren't just completely, totally run down that would cost as much, to refurbish for our purposes. So we're kind of back to square one with that after we sold the church, decided to buy the land. That didn't work out, and now we've sold that land. Now we're back to square one again. So we'll start the process all over again.
Yeah. I think there's definitely been a change in some of the vet culture with the more previous wars. Most of the friends I have, we really don't drink. And so when I think of like the VFW and the times that I went over there, it was guys sitting around the bar, and that part didn't interest me. The reason that I went was because they had filled a room in the back with mats, and we could roll and do jujitsu for free.
Right.
And have y'all thought about putting in a gym or putting in things like that I think is almost picked up more in this younger generation of trying to go and really being health focused?
Mm-hmm.
Have y'all considered anything like that?
I can't say that from recent memory that's something we have talked about. Some other things.
Okay.
We sponsor car shows, things like that. Turkey shoots,
Nice.
various things like that
It's like hunts
around the communities.
Okay.
Are
y'all in a pretty rural area?
There's in our area, Greeley itself is probably about 110, 112,000 people. It's been growing just incredibly since I moved up there 5 years ago. It's a agricultural area. Like we spoke earlier, petroleum is natural gas drilling all over the place, which shocked me when I got there. Coming from Oklahoma, which is a petroleum part of the country, that there was so much petroleum industry up there. I would say it's somewhat rural. You say you're from Colorado, all people think is, you're left-wing wackos, but that's Denver and some small areas. That's county,
Austin too.
I understand. I see I watch the news too. So,
but the rest of the state,
Weld County, the rest of Colorado is really not like that. But it's controlled by Denver. It's that's where all the edicts come out of. So, but Weld County is I would say it's a very rural county. You move a little bit east of us, there's nothing out there. Very few small towns here and there. That's about it.
Yeah, I guess the east side. Well, I was thinking about because the west side of the Rockies over there is pretty dry, right?
It is.
What is that? Junction is over there?
I'm sorry, Grand Junction. Yeah, it's out on the west side, right up against Utah border.
Yeah, I've
been through there on a motorcycle ride before, so I overnighted there before I headed to Ogden. I had a buddy up in Ogden I went to see anyway. And most when you talk about weather, most of the moisture drops in the mountain areas with the snow and everything. Mm-hmm. It's very dry most around everywhere else. We're happy to have the snow up there because we get some moisture that'll hopefully last us through the summer, and all my wife's bushes and flowers won't die. So
nice. So what other things have y'all thought or tried to do to bring in the younger group or maybe to market for the Legion?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Most of the guys, like I say, most everybody we've got a few younger guys. Most of them are a younger guy is probably late 40s, early 50s. Most of what we got, most of us are in our 70s or older. Mm-hmm. We've been stuck on a high center with this building and trying to get rid of this land so that we could buy something. So trying to set up activities and things like that, it's been kind of on a hiatus until we can get a home that we can try to draw people into with those new ideas. I wish I could say we have some other ideas, but until we have a home that we can say this is where we live, as opposed to an office space we're renting right now, it's kind of tough. Now, before at the church, we had steak cooks. We cooked steak. We had people come in. It was a big draw. So things like that.
Are there a lot of other chapters in the area, or
we are the only chapter in Greeley. There are other chapters in smaller communities. There's Windsor, which is fairly close. Some other the smaller communities. Evans, there's a VFW post in Evans.
Do y'all do any type of collaborative stuff together?
We have tried with the VFW. I don't know why we tried to cohabitate with the VFW. They've got a owned building. They've got a restaurant, a bar, a big meeting rooms. We talked to them. We had one of their members come over and actually talk to us about meshing our organizations a little,
Yeah.
because they're in the same boat as we are. VFW. It's a very old organization, just like the American Legion is, and to try to work up an agreement that we would kind of cohabitate with them. We weren't going to try to steal their members. VFW, obviously, VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars. We started off, we had the guy come in and say, hey, we want you to come over and talk to us. We went over, myself and all of our officers, and to one of their meetings and kind of pitched what we had talked about with their officers, and got just got some brutal pushback. I got a guy that was pissed because back in 1971, he came back from Vietnam and had a bad experience with the American Legion for some reason, and he still held a grudge this 50 years later. So that kind of fell through. We just, I just had a real problem, even though I would say probably 90% of our membership are VFW, can be VFW, members of VFW. We all have that.
The war's been going on a long time.
It's there.
If you
it's
serve,
there.
you pretty much went to a war.
But for some reason, I don't know why the reluctance or actually outright hostility that we ran into with some of their members came out. So we just kind of said, okay, we're done with you guys.
Interesting.
So
that's sad to hear.
In fact, after that incident, one of their officers quit actually walked away from their organization and joined us. He's one of my senior officers on our council. So yeah, it was very upsetting. I mean, we're the same. We bleed the same blood. We've been through the same thing as they have. Most of us have. Yeah,
it almost seems like some sports team fandom of you versus me. Like we're all on the same team, man.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and we could do more if we collaborated.
Sure, and that's all we were looking for. We would have carried our load. We would have paid our rent, whatever it was. We could have helped them out. We could have helped supported their activities and things, and they could have supported ours. It would have been a win-win for both. But it was very disappointing to have
strange brand loyalty.
I guess I really don't. Like I said, there were some, some of those older guys, they had a bad experience way back, and it just never meshed.
Did he say what the bad experience was?
It was something about a parade. I honestly can't believe it was 50 years ago, and I said, do you realize that was 50 years ago? And at that time, I was over in Southeast Asia at that time. So you're bad-mouthing me because of something that happened 50 years ago.
Somebody wouldn't let him on the float or what?
I don't know what it was. He just threw an absolute fit. I couldn't understand. And what are you going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? It was 50 years ago. I mean, he was ranting and raving. I don't know.
Tell you to calm down?
Please sit down. Have a seat.
Gosh. Oh man. Well, talk to me about your service time. Tell me about that.
Well,
when did you join?
I joined in 1970.
Okay.
I was
the heart of Vietnam then.
19 years old. I had tried college because my father insisted. My dad was worked for Southwestern Bell Telephone Company. He climbed telephone poles at that time, way back. He moved up, obviously, didn't have to climb telephone poles his whole life. Moved up to the more technical things after that, but essentially he worked for Bell Telephone his whole life from the time he was 18 or 19 years old until he retired at 55 when AT&T bought Southwestern Bell, and he took a buyout at 55 and retired. But anyway, he didn't want to see me go. I don't know. He didn't want me to be a blue collar worker or whatever. Insisted I go to college, so I tried it. I went to a junior college in northeastern Oklahoma and majored in geology. I loved rocks.
Really?
So tried that, but
what were you going to do with that?
I suppose work for the petroleum industry. Like I say, I lived in Oklahoma. A lot of petroleum industry work down there. Companies,
geology,
city service, mobile we had mobile companies with huge buildings all over town. So, I mean, it was there all the time. Various things
Why do you
happened.
think you didn't stay?
Girls, parents, friends. I just got kind of tired of everything that was going on at the time. Thought, hey, this is my way out of here. Not that I was really running away from anything specific. I just thought, this could be good. This could be good. So against my father's best wishes, I went ahead and enlisted. He came around. He came around after that. He had been in the Naval Reserve back in his earlier days. Quite funny. He didn't stay with the Naval Reserve because I was born and I was in the hospital for various reasons, pneumonia, whatever, basically as an infant.
Oh, wow.
So he was able to get a discharge from the Naval Reserve at the time because of my health. Which was, I thought, really weird that he was upset that I was going to enlist. So anyway, I enlisted and basic training. I thought I wanted to go into air traffic control, but I don't have perfect color vision. You don't get into air traffic control with less than perfect color vision. So I was kind of stuck with whatever they had available. They're going to put you where they want you.
Open contract, right?
That's right.
Don't do that, kids.
That's right.
Don't do an open contract.
have a signed contract.
Yeah, figure out what you want.
Know exactly what you're going to do.
They're going to pick
where they're going to put you. So I ended up working in supply, like box kickers, as they call us. Spent a year in Loring, Maine, which was quite a culture shock coming from Oklahoma. But I enjoyed the heck out of it. I really did.
What was the culture like there?
Very reserved. It was rural. It was rural too. They grew a lot of potatoes. The local stock car pavilion or area was called Spud Speedway. There were so many potatoes around there. It's very, very rural area. Northern Maine, B-52s and KC-135s. They wanted them out away from folks. So it was a very rural community. Enjoyed it. Lived in World War II barracks that were heated by steam. You can imagine a Maine winter up there. It's very cold. We had 10 plus feet of snow the winter I was there. I worked nights, which was interesting. So I drove delivery from the warehouse out to maintenance stands.
How long did you work nights for?
Oh, the whole time I was up there, 10 months.
Oh,
10,
wow.
10 straight months. They put me on nights immediately.
Did you like that?
I loved it.
I didn't mind nights. I did some security at Bagram when I was working with when I was contracting. And I got put on the night. It was like basically you came in and where were your buddies, right?
Yeah.
And whichever shift they were on is the one that you tried. And the night shift, nobody messes with you, right? We had motion detectors at the gates so it would chime if anybody came around. We played a whole bunch of like Call of Duty, like we all got around, and it was like just a nightly hangout because the responsibility level was so low at night. It was like just make sure nobody comes into the base. There's only one entry point.
That's it. Yeah,
and don't fall asleep, right? And get to have conversations like this all night.
Yeah, and we did too. We had some strange conversations at night. Like I said, we worked 5 in the evening until 8 the next morning, and we did that 1 on and 2 off. So we'd get every third weekend we'd get a Saturday and Sunday off. But mostly on the weekends we worked 24-hour day. We worked 8 in the morning until 8 the next morning, Saturday and then Sunday. It was just our schedule. That's the way our schedule was. Like I said, we'd do that.
Wait, and what do you mean work? Like you're not sleeping at all?
We would be on duty for the 24 hours in the warehouse. It was called demand processing. We'd get the phone call. I got B-52 tail number, blah blah blah. I'm on hard stand.
So just whoever's coming
A7,
in, you're handling.
Mostly it was they would call and we would deliver out to the maintenance facility where they needed whatever part that they needed, be it electronic part, wheel strut, something, anything. But We had B-52s with nukes on them that were on alert. They had to stay available. You know, it was, like I say, northern tiered base. You know, that's where all those were based. Minot, North Dakota is a prime example. There's another one up there that B-52s where they were loaded with stuff that over the pole, and they were right on top of Russia at that point. So that's why we were there.
So
That's
just
why
a
we were
plane staged with a nuke ready to go.
That's right. That's right. And so mostly we would get a radio call. They would call in off a radio, a maintenance supervisor or whatever, or phone call from the maintenance shack. They'd, mobile maintenance shacks. They'd park by the plane they were working on. We need such and such and such and such. Sometimes they would have the stock number was easy. You could find it in your book or whatever. Part numbers a little more. We had to get into the tech orders and search part numbers, which would cross-reference to a stock number, and then we could find what it was. Me and the new guys, two stripers, one stripe, whatever we had, would go out, pull it out, do all the paperwork, make sure it was accounted for, hop in the pickup truck or the deuce and a half or whatever, get it out to the flight line. So keep these things up and available. That's what we did. Like I said, since we worked those nights, it's a 24-hour operation. Those things that place runs 20, and it. Military bases run 24 hours a day. There's nonstop.
It's like Vegas. Someone's always doing something.
Oh yeah, I love visiting Vegas. Yeah, 24 hours. I walk in anywhere you want, 24 hours a day. Spent 10 months up there. You have a wish list when you go in and you process in. Where would you like to go?
They make sure you go to none of those places.
None of those places. But
where did you go? Where'd you want to go?
I actually volunteered for Vietnam.
Really?
I volunteered for Vietnam, and I put down. Where did I put down? I put down someplace back in Oklahoma. For God's sakes, I don't know why. I did end up back there, but a couple other places. But
why did you want to go to Vietnam?
I don't know, it sounds hokey, but I really seriously felt it was my duty. I
don't think that sounds hokey at all. You're talking to a guy that did the same shit.
I had friends in high school that had been killed by going over there. I just felt it was the right thing to do. I didn't end up there. I ended up in Thailand, which is considered a Vietnam campaign, Vietnam service. Spent a year there after I left Maine. They sent me over there.
How did you
And I think it's
enjoy
because
Thailand?
I'm sorry?
How did you enjoy Thailand?
I enjoyed Thailand. Like I said, I worked a lot of hours.
Where specifically were you at?
It was called Ubon, Thailand. It's northeast of Bangkok. We were 40 miles from the Cambodian border. I've been to the Cambodian border. That's as far as I wanted to go. I saw it. I knew it was there. F-4 screaming over my head at the time on bombing runs, whatever. But it's just, and the base where I was at had been targeted by Viet Cong sappers. We had been, in fact, I was a security police augmentee. I was trained. I'd been called. We actually got called out several nights during my tour there. We've got an armed party coming up the Mekong River, which runs alongside the town there, Ubon. Called out, drug you out of bed, throw a flak jacket and helmet and loaded M16 on you and saying, okay, you guys are the blocking force. Everybody gets out of town. You're there. You stay. That's what we were. Yeah. So, but that was just part of the deal. You signed the paper. That's the deal. So
it's kind of fun and exciting when it happens too.
A little bit, yeah. What's going on? Here we go. Type thing. So
that's cool. What kind of planes were y'all supporting?
F-4s and AC-130 gunships.
Okay.
Some bad sons of guns. I'm sure you know what they are.
Oh yeah.
We've had them come in shot up really bad. Missing engines, come in a couple of engines down on 130. We had one come in down to one engine. I think they had unpinned everything they had on that craft and tossed it out to get back to base.
Wow.
So that they could get back to base. We lost pilots, F-4 pilots, periodically. So It was real war
Yeah.
at that time. So.
And so y'all were stationed just outside of Cambodia, supporting the missions.
Supporting the mission,
and then the planes would fly back there.
Right.
Wow.
There were several bases. Utapao was there, Tak Lee, Nakhon Phanom, all bases, various places around Thailand. Flying, same kind of thing, support of the Vietnam mission.
What was the schedule like? Did y'all have downtime? What kind of things?
No downtime. No. We went. Most of the time, it was a 12-hour day, 6 days a week. We usually got a day off, a rotating day off periodically. We ran a couple months there where we were 12 on and 12 off because of whatever was going on. We had 3 squadrons of F-4s come in to support a big push. It may have been linebacker or whatever operation that was going on in Vietnam from Seymour Johnson Air Base that brought in 72 more F-4s that were flying. When you can launch 100 F-4s at a time on a specific mission, that's a lot of freaking firepower.
Yeah, it is.
Those F-4s were pretty tough. They were pretty tough. I mean, 2-engine, loud. My God, when they hit the afterburners to take off, it was like somebody pulling double-barrel shotgun beside your ear. They were very loud. But yeah, which brought in a lot of extra people. We had people packed in the hooches, shoulder to shoulder, because you support another 72 F-4s, you need a lot of maintenance support. So they brought in a whole lot of additional people.
How many people would you say it took to support just one plane?
Oh man. Well, you got electronics guys. You got not only electronic guys to keep just the electricity flowing where it needs to go. You got the avionics guys that deal with the avionics. You got targeting electronics guys. You got munitions guys. You got fuels guys that deal with fuel systems on the plane. You got structural guys that deal with. It's probably my phone.
It's okay. Yeah, it's okay.
But you've got structural guys. If you got a plane comes in sheet metal. Just pure sheet metal. You got bullet holes in the dadgum thing. You got to patch the bullet holes. God.
So every functioning system on the plane requires
anything, everything.
team.
You got wheel and tire guys. You got hydraulic guys. All of them are specialists because you have generalists. Sometimes you have a generalist, but they're pretty limited. You need the specialist guys in there to fix this specific part.
How many planes would you say one team could support before you have to bring in? So I mean, it's not like we need 4 guys per one plane. Every plane needs 4 guys.
Not being a hardcore maintenance guys, I would say 3, just depending upon the mission and how many hours they put on that airframe at a time.
So with 75 planes, and you're looking at
I don't know. They brought in several hundred additional, maybe 500 additional personnel to support the base. Like I said, plus then you've got the 130s, which are totally different. The AC's 130s.
So there wasn't no cross pollination. They could work on both.
No. That's hydraulic guys can probably work on the hydraulics. They wouldn't have the specific knowledge if they move from an F-4 to a 130 hydraulics, but they could probably figure it out pretty quick. Electronics may be the same thing. Engine guys, probably not.
Yeah.
You got jet engines versus recips. So there was a little cross-pollination.
That's a lot to manage.
Massive, just lots. Yeah.
When did you make that transition from being the guy driving the trucks out, finding the things, to managing that type of person?
That was
logistical movement.
That was much later in my career. After I left there, I came back to the States, spent a couple years in Altus, Oklahoma, which was a training base for C-5 pilots. They did was training down there, just train those guys to fly those. Spent a couple of years down there, got out of the service, tried to do a little schooling, didn't work out so well. I went into drafting anyway. That didn't work out.
So you tried college a second go around?
Well, I tried something a little more. I won't say a little more blue collar, going to drafting, which nobody's a draftsman anymore. It's all computer generated by computers anymore.
Was that like architectural drawing?
Yeah. Yep. Sure was. Worked while I was doing that at night. I was working for a petroleum industry servicing company that helped. They didn't do drilling or anything, but they serviced the wells. They did acidizing, fracturing. I don't know if you know what fracturing is that where they need to break up the rock around a deposit so that the oil seeps through those cracks after and it comes up to the surface. So,
fracking?
Fracking is exactly what it is.
It's not just sounds like a bad word.
Yeah. So I worked there while I was going to school and just decided, I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. So I thought, well, I've got a buddy that I had kept in touch with in the service. He had gone into computers and gone back in and gone into computers in the service. So I thought, hey, that sounds interesting. I'm not driving a forklift, kicking boxes all the time. I'm pretty smart. I took the test, went up and took an ASVAB, additional ASVAB. Yep, you're good. We want you. You're good. So I re-enlisted and went back into the service. Was sent to Omaha, Nebraska, SAC headquarters. Lots of computer guys up there because they got the underground displays with all what the hell's going on all over the world down there, tracking the bad guys and all that good stuff. Top secret security clearance. They talked to everybody I knew because I had to fill out all that paperwork. Who do you know? How long you known them? All that good stuff, and send it off. And next you get a call from, hey, I had Secret Service guys show up at my house asking about you. I said, did you tell them the right thing? So
I said you're Putin's cousin.
Yeah, but the top secret. So I did that. The issue with that setup was that being an enlisted guy and being able to work on computers, most enlisted guy. We were very minimum in number. Officers work on computers. So we got those guys with computer science degrees. We got a lot of guys who had been taken out of flight duty because they hit the level that, no more, you can't fly anymore of your age for whatever reason. So they had to put them somewhere. So a lot of them had advanced degrees. So
pilots that had kind of reached the end of their flying
pilots,
time.
WISOs, weapons officers, all those guys, all kinds came out. And we had officers straight out of OCS or the academy or whatever that had those types of degrees.
What kind of work were you doing with computers?
Like I said, we kept the command and control. It was a system called WMIX, Worldwide Military Command and Control System. We kept that thing running so that the Pentagon and the president would know what the hell was going on all over the world with the computer systems. We could, if the Washington, D.C. disappeared, we could handle operations from Cheyenne Mountain, I think, came later, whatever. But we were 3 or 4 stories under the ground where the big guys sit in their little booths up and watch the 2-story high display screens that they watch the worldwide situation, whatever it was, and they made the decisions of where these forces needed to go based on what's going on there.
So it was like broken up into geographical areas. And you can see what units are where.
We had Navy admirals, Army generals, Air Force generals, Marine generals.
The display is like a world map?
Everything. World map, troop counts, spreadsheets, all kinds of stuff, all kinds of information, where the forces were, where you needed them, things like that. They could do their thing, make their decisions.
On an IMAX theater.
Oh, yeah. It was huge. It was huge. It was massive. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So I did that for about 4 years. I did that for 4 years. Like I said, that because of the organizational structure being, I was part of the team, but enlisted guys, enlisted personnel in those fields, we were probably maybe 20 to 30% of the personnel. Everybody was an officer. So we were, I said, kind of on the outside. I had some good friends, officer friends. We played softball together, things like that. but
Was there a pretty clear delineation?
there's a clear delineation for a lot. Some of the officers, there was a very distinct delineation there. We had young lieutenants, butter bars come in, and the major or the lieutenant colonel that would grab them and educate them as to how they should behave around us. They were better than us. They were taught that in certain instances. Like I said, I had some very good officer friends, some very very supportive. Didn't treat me like that, but there were enough of them that kind of did. So that kind of soured me a little bit. So I got out, went to school.
It's fun when they leave their weapon in the porta-john. You get to bring it back to them.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Is this yours? But that kind of soured me. So I got out a second time. Went back to college again. But being on the GI Bill with a 6-month-old daughter is economically difficult.
Yeah.
So I jumped back into the workforce with my computer training. I got into computer programming. Spent a lot of years doing computer programming. I was very good at it. I was a very good programmer. Not to brag, but I really was. Did that for 14 years. During that time, actually I did that for longer, but during that time, about a 5-year separation after getting out the second time, one of the gentlemen that I worked with, we bowled on the company bowling team. We got to talking. He was with the local Air National Guard unit in Tulsa, 138th Fighter Wing. We got to talking, and he said, "Hey, you need to come out and talk to these guys." And I'm thinking, I've done 8 years. I could get a little retirement out of this. Maybe this will be a good deal. So next thing I know, I'm signed up at the 138th Fighter Wing and did the weekend warrior thing for like 14 years. And
how'd you like that?
I enjoyed it. Once again, I enjoyed it because I was back in an element that I was even though I had great civilian friends, we had good time, we played together, we worked together, all that good stuff. It was an element I felt was, once again, it was almost, I felt like I should be doing something like that. So I did, like I said, did that for 14 years, got the opportunity to take a full-time with the Air National Guard, with the 138th Fighter, and then essentially a back on active duty status, which they call Active Guard Reserve, AGR status. It's a different accounting, how they account for and pay out of one bucket as opposed to another bucket. So I took that job and spent the last 10 years of my career out there doing logistics work, the planning and scheduling, moving troops and equipment overseas and back.
Was it guard troops or?
Guard troops.
Okay.
Guard troops.
Where were they going?
You name it. We went. We flew Northern Watch 5 or 6 times. Southern Watch.
Where's that?
Northern Watch, we flew out of Incirlik, Turkey. We would take 8 to 10 F-16 aircraft to Turkey. We would fly based on whatever mission. Northern Watch, we kept. This was after Saddam Hussein. We kept his troops kept them away from doing what they did.
Kept them in their place.
In their places. We did Southern Watch, which was we flew out of Al Jaber Air Base in Kuwait. And in Kuwait, we were in Kuwait on 9/11. We were flying Southern Watch, and we were over there when the planes hit the towers and all hell broke loose. And
what was the general feeling or consensus over there?
It was one of extreme apprehension for a lot of people.
About what?
Well, our families, of course, back home, worried about, because all we saw was what came over the television. We saw I saw the second plane hit the second tower. I was working nights at the time. We were getting ready. Once again, planning and scheduling, getting our stuff back from the middle of Kuwait back to the States again. So that was why I was there. We worked nights because of the time difference. To talk to people back here, we had to work the night shift.
I remember being in Kuwait, having to walk at 3:00 in the morning, like 2 miles to a payphone to try to call home.
Yeah,
that sucked.
Well, luckily we were lucky. Like I say, we were at I say lucky. It was a pretty minimal base. We lived in tents with the wind blowing across the sand, flapping, flap all night, sand.
It's
and
the
all
white
that
noise,
stuff.
right?
Yeah. So, but that happened. A lot of apprehension over there. The base was went into lockdown. All that, and there wasn't a light on in the base. We were just another part of the desert at that point. We were worried about our families back home because we didn't know if what happened at the Twin Towers was happening other places. We didn't know. Like, because they shut everything down. They just turned everything off.
The fear kind of flops.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
I remember because being home was harder than I think being deployed. When I was deployed, I knew what was happening.
Yep.
But my family didn't.
That's right.
Right. But then when I was home and my buddies were deployed, I felt that fear of not knowing what was happening.
Yeah, we were afraid of what was going on back there. And obviously, like I say, our families were, they
feeling the same
there's
thing.
no communication.
Yeah.
There's no communication. They don't know that if this is going on here, is there some coordinated effort going on over there? You know, so there was this apprehension on both sides. But anyway, we, obviously we made it back. All right, got everything back. It was a little touch and go. We had people at our base. We have a ammo depot in McAllister, Oklahoma. It's an Army-run ammo depot. There's a lot of ammo down there. We're running some HE from there to our base to load up to the F-16s that were still at home station, just in case. Once again, we didn't know if there was going to be more coordinated attacks, so they were loading up live stuff on F-16s that normally you don't get in the in interior of the United States. Guys like that. So that was going on back home. So lots of scary stuff about that time.
Yeah, that was a scary time. I remember I was 16 and a sophomore in high school in my home ec class. And my naive ass, I see this plane hit the building and I'm thinking, these pilots suck. Right?
Why did he do that?
How do you not miss the building?
That's a big building.
I just totally missed the whole even concept that it was intentional.
Just didn't track at all.
Not at all. And then then the second one happened, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening now?
Yeah, that wasn't an accident.
Yeah, and that's when someone was like, we're under attack. And I was like, oh shit.
Well, the first indication was that it was a small plane that had run into, but when you look at that building, that's a massive building.
Right.
You stick a small plane up to that hole that was in there.
Did the pilot have a heart attack? Like I thought something like they're just either a major malfunction or a pilot that was just incoherent and that's just what happened.
Yeah,
right?
he just collapsed in the cockpit.
And then the second one was like,
there's something wrong.
Suspicious here. Yeah.
Since that time, things got really, really busy for me because we started supporting a lot of stuff going on overseas. Not only our primary mission was the F-16s. You have other organizations on base. We have security forces. You have security forces, security teams. I don't know how many men are in a team. We had dog teams. They would grab a support team, and they would ship them here and there all overseas. Anytime that happened, or even equipment, we had refueling trucks that we owned that were grabbed and taken from us to be shipped overseas. We had Russian Antonovs come in and land.
What is that?
The Antonov, I don't know if Antonov 125, it's a cargo plane. It's like a C-5. It's as big as a C-5.
Okay.
Land there, Russian crews land. They were contract at that point. The Russian government had collapsed, so they had to do something to keep these things flying. So they were business at that point. They were
Yeah.
getting paid to do that. They were similar to a KC-5, a little different. They didn't have the more sophisticated equipment, but I actually got to tour one of them. Really, really neat. In a C5, you have up in the back over the cargo area, there's a ladder you can go up, and there's 75 troop seats up there. I've ridden in the troop seats numerous times over and back overseas. On the Russian version, that's the crew portion. They carry like 10 to 12 personnel on that plane everywhere they go. They needed those people because it wasn't as sophisticated as a C5. They needed those people to help load and unload. They didn't have the tie down systems. They actually had a crane, an overhead crane in this plane. That's how they picked stuff up off the ground and put it on the inside the plane. Ours, we use forklifts, K-loaders, things like that. We just roll it in. They had rollers on the floor.
Yeah.
Roll this stuff in on pallets. They had wooden floors in these things, so they had to be able to get it on somehow. So it was a very unique experience to see the difference.
Yeah.
The difference in the sophistication and technology that they used to do essentially the same thing we did. So, but like I say, once the all the Gulf War and all that stuff going on over there, my life got very busy because it was something all the time, moving people here, moving people there. Equipment, like I say, we had trucks taken, we had other types of equipment taken. We had to plan and ship that, work up cargo, aircraft cargo space. When's it coming in? There's a lot of paperwork. There's Department of Transportation paperwork. There's Department of Defense paperwork. There's hazardous cargo paperwork if it's hazardous cargo, things like that. All of that stuff has to be done. There's a huge book of every piece of information you think about, any piece of equipment that the military has that has to go with that piece of equipment. What's its maintenance history? How much, when was the last time the oil was changed in the truck? Stuff like that. So you have to get all that stuff, and it just takes a lot of work to put all that stuff together. And
Are you a very organized person?
I am now. I drive my wife crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Because I checklist everything.
Okay.
I do. It's just I can't quit.
Right.
I plan things way out ahead of time. I draw pictures. I make lists, things like that. But it's a comfort.
Just how you manage.
It's a comfort zone.
The anxiety of having that type of responsibility.
It's a comfort zone. It is. I know exactly what's going to happen when it's going to happen, and if I don't, it's bothersome.
How well do you handle last minute change?
Fairly well, because it happens in the military. It really does. You get a cargo plane that's supposed to come in. You've got stuff lined up on the flight line, ready to go. Oh, we broke down.
Just kidding.
I was a courier for cargo going overseas on one deployment that we picked up equipment from a sister organization in Toledo. They marry these F-16 units so that you support each other with we don't have this type of equipment, or ours is broke down, can we use yours type thing, Toledo. So we went up there to pick up a lot of equipment with a C5. Their C5, the C5 that we loaded that equipment on, broke down for a week. So there's a problem you run into. Okay, hey, how are the guys downrange going to deal with what we have that they need? Where do we get, things like that happen. You just deal with it. You just have to, take it one step at a time. Where do I start? Who's the first person I call type things. It's about all you can do.
Sure.
You can't say, oh, crap, and then roll up in a ball. It doesn't work. That don't work at all. So.
Yeah. So how long did you say you worked that job for?
About 10 years. Yeah.
What's the burnout rate?
That's about 10 years.
Yeah.
It's about 10 years. You don't stay in that job during that time frame. It's for somebody in a very aggressive organization like my fighter wing was. Our guys our pilots volunteered for every mission. They were very good at their job. They won accolades from a lot of people. It's you don't hear about it. It's a small organization, Air National Guard type thing. You don't see that on the evening news. But we were in. It was when we were in Kuwait. We went to a commander's call briefing with the current base commander there. He recognized our guys. He said, "These guys know how to kill shit and blow up shit and kill people." And that's exactly how he described it. He said, "That's what we're here for. That's what they do very good." So, we had a very aggressive, very aggressive ops group people, the pilots, the fast burners. They wanted to be out in front, and a lot of our pilots were not Air National Guard pilots. They all came from active duty. They all, for some reason, active duty guys, they take them out of the cockpit a little earlier than Air National Guard does. Air National Guard waivers them to fly a little bit longer. So that's what they wanted to do. That's why they wanted to do what they did, and they wanted to be pilots. So they wanted to fly the fast things, the tail burners. So they moved to the Air National Guard, and they stayed aggressive. They stayed aggressive the whole time. They volunteered for everything. They'd say, "God, take a break, guys. You're killing me." But that's what they were. And it can burn you out quite quick. Like I said, 10 years is usually about the top end, and then you get out of it and go. I was lucky. I retired about the end of that tour. My son worked in that job for about 7.5 years, and that was enough for him. But he did a swing into Iraq at the end of the Iraq War, and he did 2 trips to Afghanistan. So it burned him out quickly.
Intentionally follow your footsteps into that, or how did that happen?
Kind of. He was a aircraft mechanic. He worked on the ejection systems in the F-16. It got to be a little physical because of leaning over in the cockpits, lifting up heavy stuff out of the cockpits, the seats and stuff, because you got rocket motors associated with those things, all kinds of stuff.
Oh, wow.
It got a little tough for him physically, and his back, he had some back issues. So he about 3 years after I retired, the job came open, and he applied for it and got it. And he stayed in there for about 7.5 years, which was nice. We get together, and
the literal same position in the same unit?
Same position.
Wow.
The same position he was in, that I was in.
So there were people there that worked under you and then worked under him?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Or worked usually, mostly it was work together, side by side. Yeah. A lot of the guys that I dealt with, the maintenance guys that took care of the equipment that I did the planning on moving over, were the same guys that worked with him after I left, and we always thought that was really neat.
That is cool.
And we drive my wife and daughter-in-law crazy because he and I get together,
checklists,
and we talk acronyms. We talk acronyms, all the time. And
speaking a different language.
Right, it's different language, and they just sit back there and shake their heads at us, all the time.
What advice did you give him when he took that job?
I told him, explain to your wife you're going to be away a lot. That's all. That's about all you can do. And his wife is very supportive, just like my wife was. They both. That's your job. That's what you want to do. That puts food on the table for us. Yeah. So we're going to support you. A lot of military guys, they don't get that kind of support. Sometimes it's hey, you're gone too long. I'm going to go find me another guy type thing. And that's what happens.
That happens a whole lot.
A whole lot.
A whole lot. I was talking to a guy today that's happening too. And to have that home base, that place to get peace and to recharge, and her to be able to provide that is invaluable. And a lot of dudes don't have it. And I think a lot of wives may not realize that that's what they need, or
well, you've got to have that anchor. You got that.
You do.
That anchor from where you are to back there.
Particularly when you're in the military and you're fighting every day, you're working every day, you've got stress and obligation, and you don't really have a choice.
Yeah.
Like we do, it is voluntary to join, but the moment you do, it's no longer voluntary.
That's right.
Yeah. Like you don't have the option until the contract is over.
That's right.
And so that's why I think a lot of guys say the recruiters lied to them.
Oh, they sweet talk you. I'm
Yeah.
not sure they can actually lie to you. They
I don't know.
They kind of talk around the edges, you know.
Mine didn't have to. I wanted in.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, you definitely know guys that are like, nope, he lied. But that is, you know, that's a tough part of it. And once you're in it and you realize that you might not like it, or you might not really want to be there. Right. You might get a job that you didn't originally want to do, or, you know, there's all kinds of things. One of my close friends, they made him a cook, and he wanted to join the state platoon. He wanted to be a sniper as well, but he didn't have the foundation of infantry to go that route at the time, and that was super hard for him. But then you're locked in for 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, God, man, how do I do this for 4 years when this is not what I joined in the middle of a war to do, right? And I felt for him. I feel for a lot of guys deal with that. Don't go open contract. Find what you want to do and do it.
Yeah, lock that one and get that piece of paper.
Yeah, if they don't give you what you want, knock on the door next door, and find the branch that will, or wait till they have the opening that you want. That's my best advice. But yeah, having that anchor, having that support system at home, and it's hard for them too. You know, wives of military guys often feel like they take a back seat, you know, because
sure.
We don't even have the option to put them in the front seat.
I don't know that support. I think the guy's side needs to talk up the support from the distaff side, that they need to acknowledge that without those folks at home, they couldn't do what they do with any peace of mind, you know.
Oh yeah.
And anytime people talk to my wife and I about how long you served and stuff, my wife is usually, I served 34 years too. Yeah. And she did.
Yeah.
She absolutely did.
We've all seen what happens when home falls apart.
Yeah.
The guy falls apart.
Yeah.
Wherever he is.
Well, yeah, there's, like I said, that's that anchor that he keeps you stabilized and normal, if you know, so to speak. You've got to say, those people are why I'm doing what I'm doing here, is to protect them, and then you've got to look at it like that. And
especially when you got kids.
Oh yeah, and they've got to look at it the same way. I'm safe and sound here, and my kids can go to school, and I've got food on the table because of what my other half is doing right now. Without him or without them, whatever, who knows what could happen here? So it's definitely a two-way street. You gotta give both directions for sure.
Was it hard being gone for you?
No, because a little bit, but I knew I was going to get back. Mostly, you know, you're going to get back.
Yeah. I mean, like missing birthdays, missing holidays.
Oh yeah, it sure did. I always,
particularly before we had the internet and you know, writing letters.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Back in the 70s, I'm writing page after page after page of letters, you know, stuff like that. And
I was doing that in 2003.
Really?
2004. It was exactly 10 days that it would take for a letter to get from one place to the other. Yeah. And we had an Iridium sat phone, but it was for the company. Mm-hmm. And so, like, or maybe it was for the platoon. I think maybe we had one in our platoon. And so, you know, 25 guys sharing one phone, and it was also backup comms, right? So it couldn't just constantly be, you know, Timmy talking to his girlfriend in the corner because she's cheating on him again. Like, it was backup communication. So we had usually a day or two of the week where you could go sign up and you got 5 minutes.
Yep. Yeah. We had this similar situation. We did a little joint exercise with the Jordanian Air Force in Jordan, Azraq. It's called Azraq, Jordan, Azraq Air Base in Jordan. And they flew F-16s also. And we flew a bunch over there, and they did their little training thing. And we had one of those sat phones that some of us got to use occasionally. And like I said, you had, here, you got 3 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever, that's what you got. But that wasn't, we didn't, I never really worried or was concerned with lack of communication for any period of time, because I knew my wife's very level-headed and a pretty smart lady. She was taking care of things, and she always said, "No, that's your job. You go do it. I'll take care of things here." And so
That's awesome.
I was very fortunate. Very fortunate.
That's awesome. How's it been for your son? Is he still in?
It's been good for him. He, like I said, he did about 7.5 in my old logistics job. He got out of it because it got to be burnout for him. He's dealt with some PTSD because of it. His Afghanistan tours, and where was it? I can't remember exactly. He was in 2 different places over there. I can't remember. Anyway, he's dealt with that pretty well. We've talked about it a little bit. I know he's been had some counseling about it, but he's doing pretty good. He's moved into a position. He's actually chief of personnel at the Air National Guard base, the 138th Fighter Wing. He's moved up. He's a big muckety muck now. He's also a chief. He was made chief a little over a year ago. Which, like I say, once again, it was just, I talked to him about it in his early, right after high school. Didn't want anything to do with it. Saw me deployed and stuff like that. He had other avenues he wanted to pursue.
Talking about the military, just in general.
Military. Just this is an option.
Mm-hmm.
It's done so pretty good for your family. You've grown up nice and never missed a meal, things like that. We've always put good clothes on you. Even bought your first car and all that good stuff. Didn't want anything to do with it. He worked for Gateway Computers at the time. Gateway Computers went bankrupt. He lost the job. So he was, wanted to get married about that time. So he had to find something. This was, must have been early 20s, I suppose. Comes home and says, "I've enlisted," and just floored us completely. So
in the Air Force,
and went down, saw his graduation at Lackland Air Force Base, and he's been in over 20 years now.
Oh, wow.
He's done well. He really is. He has surpassed anything old Dad's done. He really has. He's
that's what you want, right?
That's what I want. We talk occasionally. Like I say, we get together and we acronym each other back and forth and drive the ladies crazy. But he's moved up to where he is. He's looked up to. He has a very strong support of his command staff because of what he's done. He hadn't even been in the job a month, and they had a guy, another veteran, come in with some kind of problem into the personnel section looking to get some paperwork done for something like that. This guy had some issues, and Travis had never had any bit of training. He had just moved into the job, and the guy was basically throwing a fit. He was threatening people in the headquarters building. If he didn't get hit what he wanted right now, he was going to take things in his own head. Travis sat down, and they because of things like that, they have cameras. It's recorded all the time. He sat down with this guy, basically got down on his knees in front of him. Guy was sitting in a chair. Talked to him, kind of calmed him down a little bit, and they've used that little interaction as a training video. This is how you handle these situations. And he hadn't had any training at all. He just talked to the guy. That's all he did. Just talk to him calmly. Unfortunately, the guy didn't take talking too calmly. They had to call in security to escort him out, and they may have taken him for some mental evaluation at the time. I don't know. So,
where do you think he learned that?
I don't know. Growing up, you always holler at your kids occasionally for some things. Usually, sometimes he wouldn't listen, talk back to his mother, and I would just say, "You just need to go on back upstairs. You ain't going to win this fight," when he's in a confrontation with his mom. But hollering doesn't Hollering doesn't do it. That's a spur of the moment type thing.
Yeah.
Quick reaction. You just talk to them. Just try to explain the situation. It's going to get better. Blah blah. Your girlfriend's going to come back. Whatever, things like that. Just talk. Try to be rational. Just try to be rational with them. So
Was your dad that way with you?
my dad was like I said, he was a little tougher, little tougher on me. All of us kids. I don't know. His dad was an alcoholic, broke up the family early on in his life. So maybe that had something to do with it. I think that's why plus his being a blue collar worker, even though what he did was vitally important and he did it well. He didn't want to see that for me. A little harder, a little pushier about things. Letting my hair grow when I was in high school. No, you ain't letting your hair grow. You're going to get a damn haircut. So I got a haircut. That's all I did. The hell you are joining the Air Force. You're not joining. You're going to finish school. No, things like that. He was a little tougher, So I think maybe that colored my reaction and response to some things. Hopefully, I have a really good relationship with my son. We really do. We don't talk constantly with each other, but when we sit down, we can talk like two adults with shared experiences, which is great, which is really great.
Especially since you both worked the same
job,
that's same unit.
Crazy. How often does that happen? Really. I mean, the exact same job, doing the exact same.
Let me warn you about Bob. He's always late.
Oh yeah. Yeah. There were names that I said this is what you're going to run into when you're dealing with this person. Things like that. You just try to pass along what you can.
That's exactly right. I mean, from each generation, just try to do a little better than the last. Yep.
Well, sure. That's exactly what you want to do.
Yeah.
My kids aren't going to inherit a lot of money when I'm gone, and I've told them that. I said, "Hey, I'm spending what I got. That's mine." But they've done well. He's doing well. He's a chief master sergeant. He's got over 20 years of service. My daughter's got a master's degree. She works for Colorado State University. They've both done well. They're both educated. They're both very mature. They've got their families. They're doing good. We gotta be proud of that. I got friends that have not done so well with their kids. They've got kids that have drug problems. The kids that have still living at home in their 30s and 40s and whatever. So I've got to feel good about the parenting my wife and I have managed to and way to live your life we've imparted to them. I think they've seen us work hard. My wife retired from the library. She worked 20 years at the library. You get a job, you stick with it.
Both very organized.
You pay your bills. You take care of your stuff. You take care of your kids. Things like that. And they have friends. Not so good. My son had a good friend that he used to visit the house in high school that killed himself because of things like that. So they've seen the other side. So I think
it's really important. I think once you have kids, if you're not able to make them a priority and teaching them those things, it really comes out later.
Yeah, and you see people that kind of wash their hands of their kids. They're off doing whatever the hell they want when they want, with no repercussions. You don't have to lock the kid in the basement. There are ways to deal with it, but you've got to start early and stick with it. You can't get frustrated at the first sign of some rebellion. You got to the steady hand. Just be steady with them. Don't throw a fit and throw them out of the house. That doesn't work.
There's people that have kids, and then there's parents.
Yeah.
I know people that just have kids.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to be a parent.
Yeah.
Instead of just have kids.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's hard especially when, like you said, you've got friends that just have kids.
Yeah.
Or your kid's friends with someone whose parents just have kids and they want to hang out together and they want to do things. You're like, that's not our standard. What they're doing there that don't work for us.
Right.
And it's confusing for a child because they feel like they've got
It is.
different rules to live by than everyone else does.
Why are they getting to do that and
Exactly.
not me? Yeah.
How come he's got a TV in his room?
Yeah.
How come he gets to eat and drink whatever he wants? How come he's got YouTube? It's like he's 6.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have those things.
Yeah. That's true. You throw stuff at them to keep them out of your way.
Exactly.
That's what they do, you know. And there's a
Kids are inconvenient.
yeah, and it's hard to when you're raising kids to go from being a parent to talking and teaching them to where you transition over to an adult to adult conversation. You're still instructing them, you're still tutoring them, you're still trying to guide them, but you're doing it in a different way. And I don't think you know when that happens. It just kind of happens.
When did that happen with you?
I have no idea. Maybe it was I don't know. My son,
Is there a moment that you realize that he's no longer a boy?
virtually the day he graduated high school, he moved out of the house.
Okay.
He had a job.
Yeah.
He was saying, I'm on my own, you know, and pretty much that was it, you know. Still helped him out. Sure, you know, we helped out when we could or when he needed some help. The daughter, she was easy. Oh my God, she was easy. The boy, a little tougher growing up. But like I said, it turned around. I think maybe it wasn't the losing the excuse me, the company closing down and enlisting probably before that, because he always had good jobs. He always had a job. He had a job, paid his bills, you know, paid part rent for the guys he was living with. Never was an issue. I know somewhere along the line that mouthy kid that used to aggravate my wife so much turned into an adult, you know, somewhere along the line. Who knows? I can't say when the switch was flipped. Who knows? But it did. Thank God.
Yeah. I think that happened for me as well, as probably when I left for high school and joined the Marine Corps. And, and then it's like the tone changed when I would speak with my dad or my uncles or whoever. And it wasn't it was more of a mutual respect instead of I don't want to say talk down, but you know.
Well, yeah, they realize you weren't a dickhead anymore. You know, you
maybe still a little bit, but
maybe
I kind of mastered it really in the Marine Corps, but I just polished it.
Those are just episodes. That's not a continuous string of dickhead. You know, do an episode of dickhead here and there, maybe. That's just for entertainment purposes. You know, you don't do it to be that way.
Right.
You just do it to, you know, stress relief.
Break the monotony.
Yeah, break the monotony, stress relief, and something like that.
Yeah, some gallows humor.
Yep, for sure.
That's awesome. What would you say is the grind of your life right now? Are you just coasting through retirement?
Being retired is tough.
Is it?
It really is.
What's been tough about it?
What do I do next?
Yeah.
How do I entertain myself? Most everything else pretty much is, you know, it flows and takes care of itself. I think that's why I've gotten so involved with the American Legion. Is once again, it's a common thread I have with the people in the organization to help vets who are having trouble.
Yeah.
It's a purpose. It sounds so trite, but it really is. You know, I can't sit back and say that's not my problem, because that could be me. It could be me. You know, it could be you. It could be anybody. But it's the guys that walk in the door. Hey, I can't pay my rent this month. So my first check's going to come at the end of the month. I'm going to get kicked out. No, we can help you out. We can help you out.
Was there a time in your life that was you? That you felt like you were really struggling and somebody helped you?
Honestly, I can't say. I always had a plan. I always had something that I felt that I could step into or make the next step or ease over a rough spot, that I could continue on and not fall into a pit and to have to struggle to get out of. I always felt I had options. Now, I don't know, other people are not like that. Like, maybe that's, I don't know, maybe it's just my makeup. I don't know. Like I said, maybe it come from, growing up in a blue-collar family. Like I said, my dad worked climbed telephone poles when I was a kid. My mom made fishing reels with Zebco. If you remember who Zebco was, she worked at the Zebco plant in Tulsa. Ruined her hands, ruined her hands because she worked with these reels, putting stuff together.
That's why they use kids. They prefer those little fingers.
Now, well, it's all machine. It's all computer.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but she worked so long it just crushed her hands. Arthritis and bursitis and all kinds of stuff. And she worked there almost 20 years. So maybe just the. I never felt in such despair with a problem that I didn't see some way to take care of it.
That's good.
It may take a little bit of time, but I always figured a way to deal with the situation.
Was that from planning? Do you think you just planned?
No, I don't think that was from that planning. If you're talking about the
I mean, just in general, always having
sure, yeah, just
planning things,
trying to look ahead. Okay, if I do this, what are the outcomes? Okay, is this outcome better than this outcome? Is this outcome going to lead to something else or a different problem? Just trying to work it that way, just trying to, like I said, just running a checklist, if nothing else. It may only be up here and it may be subconsciously, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Not just throwing up your hands and saying, oh, crap, I'm screwed. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. In all kinds of things, that doesn't work. You just can't do it.
So you found some purpose in the Legion in retirement?
Yeah, I think so. I deal with the guys I'm around most of the time are as old or older than me. Like I said, I've got a 91, 92-year-old that we deal with, Rudy, Korean vet, numerous Vietnam vets, Army vet, retired Army guy. Had a helicopter go down with him in Vietnam. He was a crew chief on helicopters.
Yeah.
Busted him up a little bit. He's not too bad off. He's dealing with some heart issues and some lung issues right now, Agent Orange, things like that. So they keep me going because I know somewhere down the line they're going to be gone.
Sure. Well, is there anything else you'd like to talk about or share with me, or?
I think my whole life right now. You know more about me than most people do. I think, and whoever else.
That's what makes these things so special.
And whoever else is listening.
That's why I love them.
I've never, I talk, and most people know my history, and most of the guys I run around with, we deal with Legion guys, and a lot of the guys back home that I served with in the unit back home, the 138th. They know most about my life and things like that.
Yeah.
But to sit down and go through it like this it's just not something most people have the option to do, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
I hope I didn't embarrass myself to anybody.
No, I don't think so at all. It's been a real pleasure.
I talked with Brianna about, I was confused as to why you would want to talk to me because I wasn't a spec op guys or a snake eater or whatever.
I didn't know what we're about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you needed guys like me,
absolutely,
all the time. That for the one guy out there, there's 10 guys supporting him.
Absolutely,
trying to keep him running, keeping him supplied, keeping him fed, all that good stuff, getting him there, getting him back, all that good stuff. It's got to be done.
And there's no shortage of podcasts full of snake eater stories.
I'm sure there is. I've watched some of them right here.
Yeah, we've had some on here for sure, and those are fun too. But this is. Well,
I'm sitting beside one of them right now.
Oh well, so. Only literally in the jungle did eat a snake, but I didn't have anything else.
I've eaten snake, but not in a jungle. I've eaten rattlesnake at rattlesnake hunts in
actually really good.
Southwest Oklahoma. It really is
excellent.
Rattlesnake, you're really good. Yeah.
First rattlesnake I ate was in sniper school.
Yep.
We spent the first day We got caught. Like, they accused us of trying to cheat, but they gave Det 1 guys permission to go check out their hide site, and we were in the same building as them, so I just assumed that it was okay, but it wasn't, apparently. And there was a little bit of rules being different for them versus different for me as just a battalion sniper, and so they were going to like drop us for integrity, and they offered us 24 hours of thrashing.
Wow.
Or to speak with the staff in COIC and plead our case, but they were going to all recommend that we get dropped.
Wow.
And this is the last week of sniper school.
I mean, that'd been very painful to take.
Oh, yeah. This is week 11.
Oh, my gosh.
In a 12-week school that we've endured hell.
And you're going to take this away from me by a misunderstanding?
Oh, yeah. And it was day 1 of Hell Week. And so we volunteered for the 24 hours of thrashing, and they took shifts all night.
You're a brave man.
And I don't know how we can get rhabdo. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing at the time, where like your muscles get so broken down that it, builds up in your kidneys, and you end up pissing blood, and you're all fucked up.
Well, they just had a guy recently in SEAL school, I think that happened to.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
No doubt. But after that was over, they finally like, all right, here's your first mission. You have to observe this area of the mountain town, whatever. And we looked at each other like, we're going to climb that mountain so that they won't follow us. And we found the biggest cactus patch we could find, and we dumped right into the middle of it. And I remember my buddy, my partner Sullivan, was asleep, and a rattlesnake came right between us. And it's crawling while it's rattling, which was real weird. I didn't know that they would do that or could do that. But it's moving, and I hear the rattle, and it's still just coming alongside us. I don't know if he's just warning me or whatever, because he knew that we were there.
Huh.
But I grabbed my rifle, and I smashed his head with the buttstock, and then I woke Sullivan up, and a fog came in over the mountain as the sun was coming up, and we couldn't see anything. And so we built a fire in our hide right there, and we cooked that snake and ate it, and had a little bit of barbecue sauce packet from the 1 MRE. They give you 1 MRE for the whole
MRE
week.
For everybody.
And I had the hamburger MRE, and there was some barbecue sauce in it, and we smeared it on that snake and ate it. And the other cool thing about it was, if you killed a rattlesnake, it may have been any snake, but I remember it was specifically rattlesnakes that we were doing, and you turned it into the instructors. If you gave them the skin, they would take whatever your lowest grade was and make it 100.
Jack it up and give you a little.
And
cool.
So we were able to turn that snake in, and I don't know, we were already going to pass, but at least for the grade wise. But
well, that's a
it was pretty cool.
Pride. Yeah,
it was cool.
Look what we did.
Hell yeah.
You bet.
Ripped that skin off, rolled it up, stuck it in my ruck, and yeah.
Yeah, my rattlesnake eating wasn't nearly as exciting. It was in a normal rattlesnake hunt in a little town in southwest Oklahoma, where they do it every year. And
the roundup?
The roundup, yeah.
I've never been, but I've always wanted to go.
They set up this little small town, still the old town square type setup, and Mangum, Oklahoma. It's in southwest Oklahoma. Like I said, it's southwest of Altus, where I was stationed at the time. And they round them up. They've got the whole square. They've got a rattlesnake butcher shop. You can go over and watch them. They grab the snake by the tail, and they've got this big chopping block about as big as this table. They drag that snake across it, and the head goes flying off. Like, hang them up and let them bleed out. And then they skin them, send them over to the restaurant or wherever it is, and you can go over and get you some rattlesnake.
It's super good white meat.
It is good. I was on crutches at the time. I'd had my foot operated on, and you could take a picture with a rattlesnake around your neck, but they had his mouth sewn shut on the sides. He could still, yeah. And I've got a picture of me on crutches with this rattlesnake around my.
Wow.
Somewhere I've got that picture, but yeah. Crazy stuff, yeah. But
have you been to the roundup many times?
No, I just went that one time when I was stationed down there, and like I said, they have several of them. There's one in Okeen, Oklahoma. It's a big one that supposedly is known nationwide. This one's a little smaller town, Mangum, Oklahoma, and they have a rattlesnake roundup every year. But it's like I say, Southwest Oklahoma. It's kind of high desert type. Not high desert. It's low desert down there, very low. Rock, lots of rattlesnake in that area.
Yeah, they're a fun snake. I've had a few of them. I had a buddy that had a Western Diamondback that he kept. He had a bunch of poisonous snakes. He had a green mamba, a bunch of copperheads.
He's one of those people.
Oh yeah, he was one of those people. And I'll tell you, he even for a while he got onto this kick of rattlesnake venom. Or not rattlesnake venom, but just snake venom in general. And he would milk copperheads and then dilute it to 1/100th percentile and then inject it into himself to, I guess, become immune, or he was playing with his own immune system. And I mean, it seems like a bit of a self-licking ice cream cone where like, yeah, you're playing with snakes, so then you need to immunize yourself from those snakes when you could just stop playing with snakes. But when he first did it, he said it was like putting Tabasco sauce into his leg. Like he could hardly walk.
Did a Vin Diesel then. Vin Diesel there's a movie he did that with a serpent type thing.
Oh, really?
To immunize himself against that.
Oh, yeah.
He was stranded on this planet somewhere.
Oh, okay.
And so he did that so he could eat them or whatever, so he could protect himself against the venom they had. So same
concept,
yeah,
right?
That's exactly what he did.
I don't know if, he was diluting it quite a bit. So 1 drop of venom to 100 drops of saline. But after a while, he said he didn't really have a reaction anymore to the venom, and he also said he didn't get sick at all for like 3 years.
Wow.
Said every time he would do an injection, it would just cause like a brush of white blood cells through his body. And I mean, I don't know all the science behind it, but it sounded interesting.
He bulked up his immune system,
I guess. And he had kids, and he's like, everybody's got the flu but me.
I guess.
No, you got bit by a snake.
It ain't something I'd try. Doesn't sound a good thing for me.
It seems like a risky thing for like an anaphylactic response to occur.
You don't know.
Very
you
dangerous.
Never know.
And
I mean, the first time he could have dropped dead right there. Really.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that the total toxicity of a copperhead, or how common people die from that, but absolutely could have.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it just could have been that 1/10 of 1%.
Yeah.
Could have done.
And he sent me videos of some guys that were on YouTube that was using like cobra venom and like neurotoxic venom and claiming to, get high off of it and feel like he's like, I have the heart of a 20-year-old and I'm 55 or some shit. Like, you're fucking nuts.
He's got a little gap in his synapse there somewhere. So
probably dead now. No doubt.
That's another thing they did at those rattlesnake hunts, that you can go and watch them milk the snakes, because they goes to medical research and things like
venom
that,
and stuff like
collect
that.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think there's a lot of science that's been untapped from the natural world.
Well, yeah, you don't think about it, but hey, maybe, we'll try this.
Yeah, he was telling me there was some kind of protein in copperhead venom that had been found to cure breast cancer.
Wow.
But it couldn't be either, I don't know, it couldn't be controlled. And so it wasn't being approved, or it wasn't being permitted for people to use. I think the FDA kind of likes to monopolize access to drugs.
Metastasized or did something different than what you wanted it to do.
They can't control it. They don't want you to have it. Yeah. Do you go to the VA for much?
No, I don't. Luckily, I do periodically, just for periodic checkups and things like that. But being retired, I've got Medicare and I've got TRICARE for Life, which is a supplemental for military people.
That's good.
So luckily, I don't have to. I can if I want to, but I figure there are people who need it more than me.
Yeah.
I've got an alternative that frees up time that could be used by people who really need it. That's their only option. So.
Sure. That's good.
And I am just seriously thankful for that. I am.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been there in a while, but I try not to go.
Yeah. it
Trying
can
to
be
stay healthy, so I don't need to go.
Yeah. That's one good thing. I'm healthy as a horse. I don't have the issues that a lot of my compatriots do. The guys in the Legion, they're there all. It seems like they're there all the time.
Yeah.
Have other.
You think it's mostly war-related things, or just lifestyle catching up at the end of your life?
Some of it is. I think it's a combination for sure. It's a combination.
A lot of smoking and drinking.
Some.
Yeah.
Some. I've got one of my friends, 2 tours of Vietnam. He's got some lung issues, but he quit smoking 35 years ago. But he's got the Agent Orange thing, which has scarred his lungs. So, smoking. My parents smoked. I won't say I've never smoked. I've had maybe 2 puffs of a cigarette and hated it so bad I've never picked it up. I lived around it my whole life, and it just wasn't something. Plus,
my dad smoked, and I got I can't handle the smell of a cigarette.
I can't either.
I was glad when they stopped allowing people to smoke in bars. Oh yeah, and in restaurants,
bowling alleys. When I used to bowl in the league, you'd go into a bowl, and I'd come home, and my wife would know the minute I walked in the door. Say, I can smell you, and all the clothes would go in the
smell like an ashtray.
Oh, terrible!
It's awful.
Yeah.
So
you didn't smell it yourself until you took the clothes off, and then God.
Then the next day, like you put your face in it, you just want to vomit.
Especially if you don't smoke,
Yeah.
If you don't smoke, and luckily the military's gotten away from handing out cigarettes and C ration, K rations. They used to do that, but they don't anymore.
Dipping was a much more common thing when I was in.
Yeah.
Some of that was in the sniper platoons, like we more or less wouldn't let you smoke.
Well, smoking gives you away.
Absolutely, right? It's like, if you need nicotine, you can dip.
Yeah.
And so that's what everybody did. And I'll be honest, it helped you keep awake.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything to do but sit there and play with this dip that was in my mouth and spit and whatever, and, share it. It was a social thing,
Peer pressure?
Maybe I was doing it before.
Just being one of the guys, just
something to do, right? And if you didn't have some, maybe he would, and then when they would run out, you would have some, or your parents send you a log or his, you know what I mean? And it was just this thing that we all did and kept us awake and gave us something to do on those long nights of fire watch, until your lip starts to hurt, and then every time you put one in, you got to take a shit.
Or you don't want your lip to hit the tile,
guys getting, gum grafts and all kinds of shit.
I've seen some of that stuff.
I'm very lucky that I haven't had that issue. I started when I was 14.
Goodness.
I remember my first dip was during lunch my freshman year. We got off-campus lunch in high school, and a friend gave me a dip of Copenhagen snuff, and I almost knocked an aisle over in the grocery.
Your head was your eyes were going
lit,
like this.
Just spinning. Like, how the fuck do y'all do this all the time?
All the time.
It's like, well, that goes away. It's like, well, then why do you do it? Like, then nothing happens?
Yeah,
you're just doing it for nothing?
More and more of this stuff in your mouth to make it come back.
And it tastes like the devil's asshole, right? Like, Copenhagen just, so gross. So it tastes so bad. I don't know what that flavor is, but it's not good.
Yeah.
But
I got to say, I tried what do they call them? I don't know.
The pouches?
Pouches.
Yeah.
They call them Kotexes. The guys called them Kotexes.
Nice.
I tried those once, same kind of with cigarettes. I tried it once or twice. Like, God, this is awful. Why are you people doing this?
Yeah.
And that was it.
We've got the flavored stuff now. It's just nicotine in a pouch. I like the mango one.
Really?
But
it's not mango with the tobacco.
Yeah, it's actually super good. It tastes like juicy fruit gum or something.
Good grief! Wow,
but you get like a nicotine from it. And I gave some to my wife. We were having during COVID, we had neighbors that would come over and we'd all drink in the garage and hang out. And he had these 3 milligram mint pouches, but he had ran out. And we dared her to try one. Well, I had 6 milligram, and I didn't mention that mine was double what his was, but she didn't have any nicotine, use at all. And so I gave her that, and immediately Like she's kind of spinning. She's like, oh God, I don't know how y'all do. Then she's like, I'm getting hot. And she spits it out. And then she's like leaning over in the chair.
She's dribbling. She's starting to slobber.
Starting to drool. And then it wasn't 3 minutes, and now she puked the whole dinner up all over the flower beds and on the side of the house, and then had to go to bed. And I'm like, well, this was fun, guys. Party's over.
Hey, next week, huh? Same time, huh?
Yeah. No, she's never done it again since.
Oh, boy.
And that I had a similar story in Fallujah. A buddy of mine on my team smoked cigars. He was a aficionado, right? And had this book. I ordered a book called like Cigars for Dummies. Yeah. It was kind of like, what is a Maduro and what are the different types of cigars that you can get? And so we would order these big batches of cigars. And we had this XO, Lieutenant McCoy, and he was as straight-laced Mormon as they come. Had never drank, had never smoked, had never done anything, but he got on a Sopranos kick, which is a TV show about the mob, or I think the mafia, right? And they smoke cigars on the Sopranos, and so he's a real soft-spoken guy. He came and was like, hey, I kind of want to try. Can I try one of y'all's cigars? And I'm just like, sure, man. I don't care. Yeah. He's like, well, I've never done any nicotine. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh boy.
Well, all right. Like, let's go up to the roof and we'll hang out and I'll let you try. And his same reaction my wife had. He's immediately, I'm all hot. He's like dumping the water on his head and he's trying not to throw up. And it was great. It was great comedy. Great comedy.
Keep him away from the edge. You don't let him get close.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
He was a good dude. But anyway, Don, it's been great talking with you.
I have enjoyed it. Like I said, you have gotten more out of me than anybody else has. And I'm
glad to hear that.
I appreciate it. Thank you much.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You bet.
It's great to meet you.